Welcome to Making Sense with Steve. Today we're going to discuss getting started on YouTube. I wanted to do this video from the perspective of just starting out. When I decided I was going to try my hand at this, I watched my fair share of getting started videos. But what I noticed amongst the videos was the people that did them seem to have been doing it for quite a while. And so I think there's hiccups in the road you're going to run into that they don't cover. As an example, editing. But in any case, there was one video I watched, and the old boy says that you can get started on YouTube for $100. And I guess in concept you probably can. He's talking about using your phone to record video. I didn't want to use my phone to record video because I wanted control over the video that was being recorded. So I bought a camera. It's not an expensive one. It's an Andover. It's capable of 4K, and it does 48 megapixel stills. You can buy them on eBay for under $200. I found mine on Craigslist for $100. There were no SD cards. It holds two of them, so I had to buy a pair of SD cards for it. But that shot that $100 right away. The next on the list is you're going to want something stable to mount it to. The video I watched talked about a $15 tripod. Well, that's fine. I spent $40 on mine. And it's not an expensive tripod by any means. The difference between mine and the $15 one is mine has two levels on it. So if you're buying the $15 tripod, you'll be adjusting your camera or phone and adjusting it until you get yourself squared up. With the levels, I just set the levels. I'm good to go. So we're up to $160 roughly now, plus tripod. No, that is including the tripod. We're up to roughly $160. You're going to need lighting. I was fortunate. I still need to get lighting. The camera I bought came with a LED light that mounts on top of it, which is what I'm using. It also came with a small shotgun microphone, which is also what I'm using. So you'll want to get lighting, and eventually you'll want to get a green screen or something like that to work with. When it comes to editing, I have a Toshiba satellite that I use for business, and it's running some old software on it. But I absolutely love the software and have no desire to change that. To run the editing software, I would have to upgrade the operating system, and upgrading the operating system would mean I would lose access to the software I use for business. So I decided I'll just run down to my local Walmart and I'll get me a cheapest laptop they've got. So I walk in and there it is, $159. I said I'll take it. And I got home, opened it up, fired it up. Boy, was I less than enchanted. It was a Chromebook. I had no idea what a Chromebook was, but I was about to get a rude awakening. So as I'm digging into Chromebook, I find out that you can turn on I guess it's a watered down Linux install, but you can run Linux apps on it. So I started thinking, well, this isn't that bad. If I can get my editing software installed and use it, we'll be all right. So I did. I put Caden Live on it, which is what I use for editing. It's open source. It's full featured. It's a nice piece of software. But the Chromebook didn't really enjoy it. If you were doing videos that were roughly 10 to 15 minutes, the Chromebook would work out for you. Not greatly, but it will work. Well, I had the last video I did was 35 minutes long, and all that happened was the Chromebook kept choking. And for the longest time, I thought it was a software issue. And then one day I decided, you know what? I'm going to buy another laptop. I'm going to buy a regular laptop, none of this Chromebook stuff. So I got on Craigslist and I found a Dell Latitude. It has an Intel processor. It's either 2.1 or 2.3 gigahertz. It has 4 gigs of RAM and the 320 gig hard drive. It had Windows 7 on it. So I bought it. I paid $120 for it. So I bought a USB stick, and my plan was to format the drive and install Ubuntu Linux. I got home, and I guess I'll back up a little bit. My plan was to create the boot disk on the Chromebook. That way, if there were any problems with the install on the Dell machine, I could always go back to the Chromebook and redo the boot stick. Well, Chromebook didn't like that idea, didn't like it at all. After fighting with it for a couple hours, I gave up and I fired up the Dell and threw the stick in the Dell, and I built my boot disk. I was a little bit nervous because if something goes wrong or this is corrupted, I will no longer have an operating system on the Dell machine, and I won't be able to make another disk on the Chromebook. And then I remembered my Toshiba, so I says, well, I'll be all right. Worst case scenario, I'll just create a boot disk over on the Toshiba and we'll try this again. So I used an ISO of Ubuntu 19.1, which is the latest version, and I went ahead and installed it. No problems. Went right in. Great. Then once I got it fired up, I got Caden Live installed, and I installed GIMP, which is basically Photoshop, the Linux version. These are all open source pieces of software. They're free. They're no charge. So I pull my SD card and I throw it in the SD slot in the Latitude, and it won't read it. But Ubuntu was kind to me and it told me what to do. All I had to do was install one piece of software which made it able to read the card. And I did, and then the card was readable. I had a minor issue with being able to access the internal Wi-Fi antenna. And that wasn't a big deal. I had to write a .conf file, which I did, and that made the internal Wi-Fi work. And so we're up and running, no problems. I take my 35-minute video, load it into Caden Live, go to render it out. It tells me an hour and 10 minutes. It finished in an hour and 12 minutes. For a comparison, the Chromebook would tell me it'd be 3 hours, and then after sitting there rendering for 3 hours, it would crash and it would say rendering crashed. Well, what I figured out was I just maxed out all the resources on the Chromebook and it just couldn't do anything else. It was done. So I turned around and I sold the Chromebook for $100. I lost, after tax, It was $159, and that was tax and all. So I ate $60 on that, and all in all, I'm out at around $425 invested so far. I don't think that's too bad. Again, I took a more realistic look or approach to it. I just don't want folks out there thinking they're going to jump in this like the one old boy says for $100. And like I said, I guess in theory you can, but you're going to be arguing and fighting with what you're doing instead of being able to handle it more smoothly. Just like everybody else out there, I'm going to say the exact same thing when it comes to getting started on YouTube. If this is something you want to do a video and just do it. You're going to have some that you mess up in editing or whatever, but hey, it's going to happen. If you don't take that step to get started, no matter how bad your first video is, you never will get started. And that, I think, pretty much covers it. I just, like I said before, don't want people going in there blindly thinking, oh, for $100 I can get started, and I'll bet I can do it for less. Not realistically. Editing. For me, and if you've never done video editing, this is going to be a very steep learning curve for you. My videos are basic editing right now. I don't know how to do all the fancy tricks that other people do, but I'll learn in time. But be aware of that. You're not just going to point and click and it's going to happen. You're going to have to learn what all these different names are and how they apply and how to set it up, like transitions, how to set up transitions, a different style of transitions. And then you've got, they call them wipes. I'd call them transitions if it were me, but anyway. But it's working out, and I'm sure anybody else out there is perfectly capable of doing it too. So for now, I think that pretty much covers it. I'm out. Y'all have a great day.